Are you ready?
Are you ready?
WHIP
Philadelphia.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now, on Philadelphia's #1 college radio station, WHIP, Rational Radio.
Number one college radio station, WHIP. You're here listening to all the day's latest news and updates.
Yes, lots of stuff going on today. Lots of stuff that we are going to be talking about, mostly talking about news going on across Pennsylvania and a couple things that are going on across the country. We will be speaking to a writer from the Philadelphia Inquirer coming up in the second half hour, so that should be interesting. And to lead it off today, though, we are talking about something that is a little strange. You don't really hear about it every day. A group of prisoners in New York invited the Harvard debate team to come and have a debate against the prisoners' debate team. And the people from Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, this according to the Washington Post, they wanted a challenge. So they just reached out to the kids at Harvard and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in having a debate with us?" They accepted the invitation, and yeah. So you know what the outcome was? The prisoners won.
Yeah, who would have thought that would happen?
Right. So the prisoners defeated Harvard's debate team. And now all this buzz is going on about, you know, all the things that prisoners can do and then the opportunities that are there for them after prison. And it's kind of interesting. Like, when I saw this, I was like I felt good. I was like, yeah, like, look at them. Yeah. Like, they beat Harvard. Yeah. And I mean, I assume, I don't know, I assume that Harvard's team is pretty good.
Yeah, they're one of the best in the country.
And then, I mean, you have a group of prisoners who in this article, it talks about that they have an initiative with a Bard College, and the prisoners were forced to acquire knowledge the old-fashioned way. They were not able to use the internet, and all the books that they wanted had to be approved by the prison administration, and that could take weeks.
Wow!
And they had to factor that into like the prep time and how long it would take them. And whereas the kids at Harvard could just go on their smartphones, on their computers, whatever, look up whatever they wanted.
Wow.
But here the prisoners had to methodically plan out what they wanted, only like kind of narrowing their search options because they didn't want to ask for too much, because then they would just be wasting time asking for stuff they didn't need. So kind of interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do we know what the debate was on that they won?
The latest debate was about whether public schools should have the ability to deny enrollment to undocumented students.
And the interesting thing too about that was that the prisoners actually had to debate on the side that they were against. They were kind of given the disadvantage in that sense that they couldn't actually debate in what they believed in. They were debating against what they thought was right. So it made it even more difficult for them.
Right. They didn't even have the passion on their side. Like.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, it's kind of cool though. I kind of
cool.
like it.
I like that you can go into prison, and if you realize that what you've done is wrong and you don't want to come out of prison as having nothing, then you can go and you can get a full education in prison. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's a very good thing.
Yeah, you can make something of yourself.
Exactly.
Right. I know. And then we were talking about this yesterday about about whether the purpose of prison should be to punish or to rehabilitate inmates, and we were talking about different opportunities that are in prison. And for these group of inmates to be able to do that gives them some sense of satisfaction. I mean, that it's not just that, you know, oh, I'm sitting here behind bars wasting, you know, my life away, but it's like, hey, this is cool. Like, look at what I can do.
And I think that's part of the prison process now. It's not it punishes them by taking away like their basic freedoms and everything like that, but it also has stages where you can rehabilitate and become somebody else or become a better you through different clubs, through different organizations, being able to educate yourself, taking yourself out of the mainstream normal that's going on outside in the world, and finding who you really are inside there.
Yeah. I mean, because what do we think? Like, if we made a debate team here, the WHIP Rational Radio debate team, and we got invited to a prison to debate a bunch of prisoners in Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know. What would you guys think?
I don't think we do that well.
I don't think we do that well, but I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's get this going. Let's get this going.
Let's form a new program. I'm down.
I don't know. I mean, just because, like, I mean, what do you have? Like, you don't have anything to base it off of, right? Because it's not like a normal thing. Although this group of inmates, they now have a rivalry with West Point.
Yeah.
And in the spring of 2014, they actually defeated the military academy, and then won against University of Vermont, who's actually a nationally ranked team.
That's crazy.
So these guys are good. And the article talks about that the students in the prison are held to the same standards and levels of rigor that students on Bard's main campus are, and that they're serious about this. Like, they're not, it's not like a joke to them, which I think is it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it offers up a second chance to these people. Like, that's really what it's all about. It's about giving these people the chance to make something of themselves and to change their ways and be better people. And I think it's really refreshing to see that we still have options like that.
And that's an incentive to like, if you're in prison 25 to life, there's not a whole lot of hope.
Yeah.
I mean, having never been in prison, I can't speak personally, but I would imagine that if you're in there for tens and tens of years, like, that's a long time to be away from mainstream society, and to be researched well enough on mainstream society from being totally removed from it in a prison.
Yeah.
Is phenomenal, and also just the ability to put yourself to something and to make something of yourself when it'd be so easy just to like lose hope. And I have a lot of respect for these guys.
One of the things that I'm really interested in is finding out what kind of education the inmates actually had before they went into prison, because these guys could have had, high class education and just made the wrong turn and ended up in a bad area at the bad time. I just think it's really interesting to see what their actual backgrounds are, and if maybe some of them are from Harvard to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I mean, plus, I mean, how, like their life experiences, right? How much does that play into it? Because it said some of these people have 10 years life experience on top of what the kids at Harvard. I mean, they've been alive longer.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's cool to think about, though. I mean, that that these prisoners were able to put this together and that they now have this, because then it gives you, like, it's a sense of purpose.
Yeah, like we can do something instead of just sitting around doing what people I don't know in prison, but like, it's instead of just sitting around waiting for the next meal or sitting in your cell. I think it's a great alternative.
And so I don't know. What do we think? Do we think more prisons should have programs like this?
Oh, absolutely. I think it should be almost necessary. Like, every prison has to have this. It should always be an option. It should be encouraged. There should be incentive for it, because really this is how prisoners are going to make something of themselves. If they don't have any way to do this, then they're just kind of wasting their lives away. And I mean, that's worse punishment than anything else.
Right, but just to play devil's advocate here, at the same time, like, they're in prison for a reason. Like,
oh,
they
yeah.
did not just choose to, like, show up here. So I don't know how much how many liberties people in prison are. Like, they can't vote, they can't they can't just leave whenever they want. So so I think it'd be difficult to establish a line where we could draw.
Well, I think something else that this brings up is, what about, like, the security, right? Because this took place at a maximum security prison. And so if you start having, like, competitions, like, that are away from the I mean, do you transport because you can't take a plane, like, you're not going to bring them on a plane, like, you're going to have to go by a bus. And then does it mean that everybody has to travel to the prison? Because then it means all the teams are coming into the prison. And I mean, not that something's always going to happen, but you don't.
It's maximum security.
It's a maximum security prison. And so and then it, like, So do they just always have home field advantage, right?
Yeah.
I also want to know if people come out and can you come out and watch this? Like,
I would love to watch this.
That would be so cool.
I would be very interested in sitting down and seeing what the type of research that these guys do and how in depth it is, because some stuff you get on the internet isn't the best stuff in the world, and
right.
you can be thrown every which way. You sit down and read a book, usually that's like straight on evidence, that's straight on information, and looking in a book compared to online, it's just going to take so much more time.
Right. And I mean, so I guess, if you're in prison, I don't know how much else you have to do, but I think that is like that they only had access to one type of information.
Yeah.
So it's only books. I mean, they could, I don't know how many, varieties, if they could get whatever book they wanted. And then you look at the kids at Harvard, I mean, they literally had everything.
Right.
And it just shows like the power. Like you don't need like the fancy computer, the fancy cell phone. They still had books, which is what it used to be before the internet was.
And the drive to accomplish this. That's I don't know. Like I couldn't just sit around and wait for 3 weeks for a book to be delivered for me to read.
No,
like,
this is a win for traditionalism.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because then they're also sitting around. While they're waiting for the book, maybe they're saying, all right, let's plan this out, okay? Let's go, step 1, step 2, let's form our argument, so that way when we get the book, we know like what we're going to look for, what we're going to use it for, because let's say it takes 3 weeks to get a book,
that's crazy.
I mean, you want to make sure that book is good.
You better make use of that book. If
right.
You're waiting 3 weeks.
Yeah. But I think it shows. I don't know. I kind of like it that you can apply this to other parts of your life, that you just because you don't need the shiny new everything to be able to do the same thing as someone else.
You just need to want it.
That's right. It's that inner drive.
Yeah.
How much do you want? How much did these people want to beat Harvard?
And I guess they also have more drive because it's kind of the only thing that they're driving for right now. Like, these Harvard students have a lot of other things they need to worry about and a lot of other things that are on their mind. But, the inmates are like, what do we got to drive for right now? It's this debate, so let's give it 100%.
Exactly.
And apparently they did.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting in prison, and you work so hard, like if, I put all this time and energy into even getting the books, I'd want to make sure, we're going to win this thing. I didn't wait 3 weeks for this book to lose this debate. Let's go make something happen here.
And this isn't just like a freak one-time thing. Like you were saying, like they've beaten West Point and they've beaten
Vermont.
University of Vermont.
Yeah.
Like this is not
right.
This is not just like they got the good end of a hard debate. Like they're doing this well and consistently. So good for them.
Yeah. So then, looking at this article. Further down, it says that on the Harvard College Debating Union Facebook, there was a post that said, there are a few teams we are prouder of having lost a debate to than the phenomenally intelligent and articulate team we faced this weekend. We are incredibly thankful to Bard and the Eastern New York Correctional Facility for the work that they do for organizing this event. So it does sound like it was home. It was a home match for the prisoners.
Right.
But if they beat you fair and square, that's I don't know. I've never been a part of a debate team, so I don't know if they're like judges or like how they like score points or whatever. I think the article talked about that there were judges, and they said that overall the prisoners made arguments that the people from Harvard just failed to even realize. Like they were bringing up just different perspectives, which is something that comes with being older.
Right.
They've lived through more than kids in college,
and possibly don't have exactly the wealth that the average Harvard student might, or have grown up in a similar environment as the average Harvard student.
Right.
might.
Yeah. If they've come from a different environment than kids who are at Harvard, then they also have those life experiences, and then it's how much do those come into play in this. And looking, I don't know. This is it's a feel good story.
Makes you happy.
It does.
But it's important to note too that it's not like, can't look at Harvard as like bad guys in this situation. It's like, oh yeah, the prisoners stood up to Harvard and showed them who's boss. It's like it said the Harvard students lost with grace. Like they said,
Yeah.
that it was a good battle, and they enjoyed it, and they appreciated the talent that came out of the prisoners. And it's just it's a feel good story, but it's not like it's not a pro versus con kind of thing.
Oh no, I mean, if I was on a debate team and I was beat by a bunch of prisoners, I mean, I'd be like, well, why how? First of all, why did we lose? Like, go back and analyze, like, what can we do better? But say, hey, they were the better team today, and I mean, that's
Hats off to them.
Yeah, right. That's just how it goes. So, yeah. So, great story here to lead it off with today. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back talking about some issues that are facing the city of Philadelphia schools. So, stay tuned on Rational Radio right here on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station.
From the WHIP News Team, I'm Dalton Balthaser, and it's time for your news right now. Close to 6,000 federal inmates will be released in order to reduce prison overcrowding. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will grant these convicts release if they were given too harsh sentences. This is the largest mass release in the history of the Bureau of Prisons. The U.S. Sentencing Commission lowered maximum sentences for drug offenders last year. A suspect is in custody after the lockdown of MLK High School. Police were told a student enrolled in the school may have a stolen handgun that would be distributed among several different teenagers. The juvenile student was taken into custody at SEPTA's Fern Rock Transportation Center. A gun was not found on the suspect. The support for gun control continues to decline. Over the past 25 years, violent crimes have decreased by 370 crimes per 100,000 people. The decrease in violent crimes leaves the issue of gun control in question, whether it will receive more support after the tragedy that took place in Oregon. For breaking news, follow us on Twitter at WHIP Radio and check out WHIPRadioTU.com. We'll see you in an hour with your news update.
Some statistics are surprising, some are unbelievable, and some are simply unacceptable. Right now, nearly 30% of U.S. students aren't finishing high school. Nearly 30%. And that's the average. In many places, it's even higher than that. And fixing it is a responsibility that we all share. This is President Obama, and I urge everyone, not just parents, but friends and neighbors and family members, to take responsibility for encouraging the high school students in your communities, to support them, challenge them, push them a little, and do whatever it takes to help them make it through. Because this is one statistic we simply can't afford to ignore.
You can do your part by going to boostup.org and sending an email, a text message, or even a wake-up call to a student at risk of dropping out. Go to boostup.org and provide the boost that's needed to make it to graduation. A message from the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
What is that?
Oh, it's my time machine.
Does it work?
Sure, just hit this button.
Whoa, dinosaurs, cool.
Or we can go here.
Hey, that's Napoleon.
Oui.
Or we can go to the future.
Wow, hey, you have this nice house. Do I have a nice house?
No, you didn't save any money, always spent it on vacations and stuff.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and correct that bad habit.
Yep.
Okay, the time machine is not real, but the saving thing is. Get in the habit of putting some of your money in savings each week through a 401k, savings account, or financial investments. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy tips on saving, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
What does this crazy little button do?
Wait, no!
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard, you're going to want to take a
left.
You are
not going to.
Then what you're going
to
do is turn onto Marcy Avenue.
Just broke up
and go past the first 3
she's
lights
happy
and then
about
take
it.
the next left.
I don't really
then
think
drive 5
she's
more
happy,
blocks
but
and you should be
who
there.
am I to judge, right?
Park on the
Anyway,
right.
That's
I'll
what
see
I
you
heard
later
last
tonight.
night.
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. Ryan, we're talking about teachers in Philly schools. It seems like they've had enough. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, that they definitely have had enough, according to this new article that is out in the Philadelphia Inquirer. It is now saying that teachers have vowed to just basically do what is in their contract, what is just written in ink in their contract, nothing more. So according to this article, it means no before-school playground duty, tutoring on lunch breaks, waiting with the students whose parents are late to pick them up, or buying copier paper or textbooks. So basically, the sixth grade teacher at Kearney Elementary in Northern Liberties is quoted as saying, "For too long, we've been disrespected by not receiving the proper compensation for the work that we do." So they are fed up, and they have had enough.
Well, if you think about it, teachers do a whole lot. Teachers are there. I don't know about you guys, but like when I was in high school and middle school, my teachers, like if I made an appointment with them, I would go before school, I would go after school, I would go during their lunch break. They would buy things for the class all the time. Like if the class needed markers, they would buy markers. And like teachers do all this stuff. Grading after school hours, that's not in their contract. They could do that during their paid lunch, but instead they're tutoring kids. So they do so much outside of what they do, and it's almost expected for them to do it now. And they're saying we're not going to if you're not going to compensate us.
Yeah, which I think is fair, right?
I think that's
absolutely fair. I mean, as terrible as the Philadelphia schools are right now, it's not the teacher's responsibility to buy copy paper and textbooks and pencils and markers. And I'm not saying, like, maybe in the beginning of the year they buy, like, a set of markers for themselves or a set of whiteboard markers for themselves. But for them to be supplying stuff for the whole school, I mean, that's not... I mean, because then essentially then they need to essentially get paid more so that they can then buy this stuff. I mean, and that just said, it's so a shame to hear. It's so sad to hear about this because, the stories that have come out. I mean, the Philadelphia School District really has no money.
Yeah.
They desperately need money, but they also need to keep functioning every day at the same time. And you need. I mean, there's so much that you need to have and be able to run a school, that you can't just say, this is their responsibility to do that. We will provide, the custodians to open the doors and in the morning and close them at night. But beyond that, we can't do any more. I mean, how is that fair to the teachers? I mean, because they are really trying to do this because it's hard for them. I mean, you look at it from their perspective, and they're trying to teach kids in a school where they don't have textbooks, enough pencils, enough paper, enough materials for them to do their job.
Yeah, and these teachers want the best for these kids. These kids, you form a relationship with your teacher, either a positive or a negative one, but your teacher knows who you are. Generally, for the most part, knows who you are, knows how you act, and knows how you react to things, and they want to help you. They have a relationship with you, but they can't be shelling out money to help you as an individual when the state's not giving it to them. So I definitely see their frustrations and
we always like to throw in a devil's advocate side here on Rational Radio.
Yeah, we do. Let's do it because it makes it interesting.
Spicy in here. But you're thinking about kind of the perspective that teachers, they need to love what they're doing, and they need to give full force for it, because this is one of the most important positions in the world, to educate our youth. And if they're not giving 100%, buying the supplies and staying after school, helping their kids, why are they in this position? Because that's what they signed up for.
Okay. So all right. So if you're interesting. Wow, I like that point because I see where you're coming from. I mean, teachers make jokes about themselves, that they didn't go into this for the money, and that they're in this because they really like to help the kids. And
so you gotta help the kids.
I see where you're coming from, but where do you draw the line? I mean, do they need to go as far as whatever it takes to educate the kids? I mean, those saying, all right, I'm going into this. I'm a teacher. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get these kids the best education possible, whether that means I have to buy pencils for the whole class, markers for everybody, supplement textbooks. I don't care. I'm going to help them. Or is it saying, if they're passionate about actually teaching the material, then, I mean, is that good too?
Well, yeah, and I may have done this one too many times, but I always shout out that my mom was a teacher at the high school that I went to. So I saw firsthand what she went through as a teacher, and she absolutely loves it. It's what she's always, wanted to do. She loves to help kids, and she dedicates so much time to these kids. You've got 8 hours a day at school, and then when we come home, what does she do? She just tries to help them more, and she just tries to help for hours and hours and hours, but it's what she loves to do, and I can see how rewarding it is to her. So if there's teachers that don't feel that way about getting that sense of reward in, helping students grow and, achieve their fullest potential, then I feel like there's a different profession for them. But again, I'm still working on the devil's advocate side here. I absolutely think that the teachers need to be treated better and that they're put in a tough spot here.
I'm glad that you raised that. I mean, that's interesting because there are a lot of teachers out there, say that they do it because they love to do it.
Yeah, and those teachers that say they do it because they love to do it are probably the ones that are going to stick in your head, and they're going to motivate those kids more than anybody else in their lives. I have multiple teachers that I can look back and remember that they just helped me so much when I was younger. By one that I remember in general, he kept multiple kids after school. It was anybody that wanted to, but he'd stay after school for about an hour, hour and a half. We'd do our homework, and then we'd work on logic problems just to expand our mind a little bit more, to challenge ourselves. We'd work on Sudoku puzzles, logic puzzles, different kinds of just things that make you think harder than the stuff in school and make you think more in depth. And it's something I always remembered, and I always thanked him for. And I think those teachers are the ones that are really going to make the difference in any child's lives. With that being said, yes, they do need compensated, but some of the things that teachers are expected to do in some sense are just part of their free time, because of their personality and because of what their goal is as a person.
Yeah, part of that, what you brought up, which I think is important to note, is also the student. The student was asking the teacher to stay after. Like, it was the drive of the student too.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to look at this. If we're looking at Philadelphia, looking at how many students are really asking the teacher to stay after. We don't.
That's true.
We don't know.
You can't really.
Right.
figure that out.
We don't know, but I think it would be something interesting to look at, because then you can tell, is the drive really there? If the drive isn't there, how do we inspire that? We were talking this morning in one of my classes about how in Finland, where they're rated as having one of the best education systems in the world, that basically they don't start formally teaching what we know teaching with worksheets and stuff like that until the kids are 8 or 9 years old. Until that, it's kind of structured playtime. So that they play games and they learn social skills through games. And it's not, doing a worksheet that teaches them this. It's kind of learning by doing and experiencing and interacting with other people. And then once they're ready to start reading, then they let them read, as opposed to forcing it on them, saying, all right, you are going to read this. It's once they reach that level where they say, I want to read this, then they go, and they're looked at as having one of the best systems in the world, which is interesting because that is totally opposite to what we do here.
Yeah, it's so you can't emphasize enough that you have to give the students the want to learn. They have to really want it. If there's a student that really just doesn't care, doesn't want to be in school, doesn't want to help themselves, then there's nothing that a teacher can do at that point. You've got to give a little bit to get it. And so these teachers have a really hard job when they're in a school system where kids don't want to learn. There's obviously a lot of motivated kids out there that want to learn and they want to develop their future, but there's always going to be those that just they just want to go in and get out. And it's sad, but there's only so much you can do with those students. And part of the job of the teacher is to motivate those students and get them excited about learning. So with a system like Finland's, I guess it's a little easier because they spend the first couple of years just getting them excited about learning. And, I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that is so. I mean, when you hear about coming to this point, I just think that it's sad because the teachers really don't want it. I mean, because they don't want it to come to this, because if they wanted it to be this way, then they would have done that from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, they would have just done the bare bones. But no, they're really trying, and I think it's different in urban schools than it is in the suburban schools.
I think almost definitely.
And you really want to help the kids as much as possible in an urban environment. As just whatever you can do, just try and just better them in whatever way you can. And I think this is a big blow to that, because it's saying basically, you're not giving us the materials to do our job. Why should you expect us to do 110% of our job when all we're asking for is that you just give us a few more textbooks or that you provide us with some more notebooks? I mean, they're not out here asking, oh, guys, you think, wow, I think Nicole, I think she really needs an extra $10,000 on her salary. It's not like, it's not like this. They're asking for necessities for the classroom.
Yeah, it's not even high-end stuff. They're not saying we need a smart board in every classroom,
right?
Or it's very basic things that children need to learn. Notebooks, textbooks, even pens and pencils, like things that are just very basic tools of education, and they don't have that. So of course these teachers are frustrated, and that's not saying that they're not more than willing to do their job, and more than their job, like you were saying, Duncan, but they're fed up, and I understand why.
Let's talk endgame quick. So when we have teachers who are kind of, it's not that they're not doing their job, but they're backing off from that, going that extra mile because they're fed up. Do you think that in the end, this is the right decision for school systems? Is it going to be more beneficial for them to, kind of hunker down, they've got it bad, but think about the kids? Or is this going to help, in the end, get something moving that's going to help the kids in the end this direction? So which way do you think is kind of leaning?
I don't see it ending negatively. I don't see the school district cutting all these teachers and saying, if you're not going to work, we're going to cut you, and hiring a whole new task force. I
don't think it's going to be that either.
Well, they can't afford that.
Right, exactly. No. So I think there's going to be some. I don't see the teachers losing. I think there's going to be something that comes from the state, whether it's a higher salary to teachers or more likely giving them the basic school supplies that they need. But yeah, I think the teachers did what they had to do and are going to get the result they expected.
Right. So thinking about it, what kind of thing could they do in order to show what compensation that they need? Because I'm thinking there could be like a log of after school hours or before school hours, or requests about textbooks, like, hey, I bought this textbook, this is the compensation I need. Sort of like in school districts, there are moving employees that it's part of their job that they have to go from different buildings to different buildings, and they're actually compensated for the gas that they use through the miles that they take, and they have to put in. Now they have to go online and put in, like, this is the route I took, and show exactly what they did, but eventually they get compensated for all the movement that they do throughout the day.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. I mean, that's probably the most straightforward way to go with it, but I mean, the school district of Philadelphia doesn't have that money to compensate them. So, I mean, now you have a log of basically they say, okay, yeah, we acknowledge you bought that $100 textbook, maybe two of them, $200. We'd love to reimburse you for it, but unfortunately we can't. We hopefully eventually we will be able to, but right now we can't. And so then that brings up what are they to do?
Yeah.
Because they don't. I mean, because the ultimate kind of, if we look at it this way, the ultimate nuclear option is if they just all walked off the job and went on strike. until something was done.
Yeah, but the issue with that is we've seen other cities that have gotten to that point. I think Detroit was one of them, Chicago, where teachers go on strike, and even if they're in the end effective, there's that period where, the strike that they're going on is a child's education.
Yeah.
And there's children that live in dangerous parts of cities where the time that they're at school is a time where they're safe, a time where they don't get into trouble, and they're not getting that education. And, there's a strike that lasted almost 2 months in a city. I don't remember if it was Detroit or Chicago or other, but 2 months without giving these children in like a very vital stage of their life an education. And they're all sacrificing that.
Yeah.
And even though in the end they were successful, there was a lot lost because of it.
Yeah, and that's basically something that we don't want it to come to. So a very important discussion here on this Thursday afternoon about teachers basically saying, what are we to do? How are we supposed to go forward? So something I'm sure that will stay in the news for a little while longer. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are talking about Pennsylvania and their budget and how they have still been unable to pass a budget, even though they tried to put one through the House last night. So stay with us here on WHIP Rational Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station.
People are always talking about the stock market, always looking to invest in a good opportunity, something with the potential to grow. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock where you invest to make money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps students like me go to college, which ends up making the future better for everybody. I could be the first college graduate in my family, the first district attorney from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there will be a second and a third. This can really be the start of something. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my lube, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Hey, it's Nicole from Chew in the Morning on Mix 106, and you're listening to WHIP.
WHIP, Philadelphia's #1 college radio station. We're here on Rational Radio talking Pennsylvania budget.
Oh yes, something that has been going on for quite some time now. Governor Wolf desperately trying to get a budget passed through the Pennsylvania legislature, but unable to do so. Now joining us on the phone, a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, Chris Palmer. Chris, thanks for being with us here on Rational Radio.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So talk a little bit about this latest budget attempt to push it through, some of the reasons for it kind of stalling out in the House.
Sure. So for months, Governor Wolf has been saying that he wants to increase education funding throughout the state, but in order to do so, he needs to raise some taxes. And one of the taxes they wanted to raise, for example, was the personal income tax. Another was a tax on natural gas drilling. Republicans in the legislature who control both the House and the Senate have said that's not going to make it through. And yesterday they finally put their money where their mouth was and said we'll put it up for a vote in the House. They said they allowed Governor Wolf to talk to anyone in the legislature that he wanted to, Republicans, Democrats, to try and convince them to vote for his proposal. He needed 102 votes to pass it, and in the end he came about 29 votes short. It failed 127 to 73. There were no Republicans who voted for it. 9 Democrats also voted against it. It leaves the budget situation, which is now today on its 100th day overdue, kind of at a standstill. No one really knows what the next step is. Both sides have said they're going to go back to the bargaining table, but the question remains where exactly those negotiations are going to start.
Yeah, ultimately something that will need to be decided. What are some of the long-term impacts of not having a budget in place?
Sure. So there's no official document that describes how the state should spend its money. So it's not giving out money to school districts, to nonprofits, a lot of whom depend on state funding, if not for their entire budget, for a significant portion of it. So school districts, we've heard, are starting to have to wonder whether they're going to have to borrow money. Some nonprofits have already started having to do that. And as the longer this drags on, the tougher it's going to be for a lot of those organizations. Some of them get, again, significant portions of their revenue from the state, and the state just can't give it out now. It's against the law to do it without a budget.
Yeah, so looking through some of these things, we see that Governor Wolf is really passionate about education. Ran on the platform that he was going to tax the natural gas drillers in the state. Are those issues that you've seen him kind of unwilling to budge on, saying that they have to be included in the final budget that's passed?
I don't think either side has said ironclad one thing has to be in there, has to be not. I think what's clear is that Governor Wolf's top priority is education funding. That's what he campaigned on. He won the election by 10 points on the fact that he was going to restore funding to the schools. So while he, I guess, wouldn't say that there's a non-starter, it's hard to imagine him approving a budget that didn't have a big spike in education. Republicans on the other side have, again, basically come out and said that taxes aren't something that we're going to really give in on. Income tax, I think, is a bigger deal for them. They don't want to give in on that. They've indicated a little more willingness to consider some kind of tax on natural gas drilling. But I think it's clear that, again, Governor Wolf's priority is making sure that there's additional money that can go to the schools. Republicans, one of their big priorities has been that they don't want to raise taxes, and that's kind of where you're seeing these two sides, really butt heads.
And have you, in just doing reporting on this story, have you spoken to any Republicans out there who have just outwardly said that they won't appropriate the amount that Governor Wolf wants for education?
Well, I think what Wolf has said is that in order to appropriate the amount that he wants, they're going to need more revenue. They're going to need to raise taxes, and there are a lot of Republicans. There were, hundreds of them yesterday who just soundly rejected the idea that the money that Wolf wants to give to schools are going to come from the tax increases that he wants to. Now, there are other ways potentially that you could raise revenue in order to get to the number of the amount of money that Wolf wants to give to schools. You might be able to sell off liquor stores or find savings in other departments. But Wolf's initial plan was to try and raise income taxes along with a few others and give that money to schools. And I think yesterday's vote was evidence that Republicans are not on board with that version of it. They're not going to allow that kind of money to be the money that's going to fund schools.
And I know earlier it was being talked about possibly tying this to the privatization of the liquor stores. Is that still on the table, do we know? Or
Yeah, it's certainly not off the table. I think, again, yesterday's vote was kind of focused on property taxes and the natural gas taxes. I think now the question becomes, how are the sides going to push and pull to try, what's the revenue number they're going to want to try and generate, and how are they going to try and generate it? At some point, there's going to have to be negotiations about where the money comes from, and that could include liquor privatization. It could include some version of pension reform. It could include some kind of tax. That's what legislators in the governor's office are going to try to work out here as this budget impasse drags on.
And so, just going forward, do we see this budget process being resolved anytime soon?
I wish I had an answer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I talked to the governor's office today. They said they have no negotiations currently scheduled. That's not totally unusual since the end of the week is a slower time for them. But, yeah, I don't know. I think, you've seen both sides kind of dig in here and make clear that they're not going to just blindly accept what the other side proposes. I think there's some precedent in these negotiations too, right? Governor Wolf is a first-term Democrat. He was elected with a big majority. If he gives in here, there's the potential that the Republicans feel like they're going to have the upper hand moving forward. The Republicans, I think, at the same time are trying to make sure that they, make their priorities clear and don't give in too easily to a governor. There's a lot at play. I think my gut would tell me that means that it's not going to come to an end anytime, within the next couple days here.
Yeah.
But at some point, this budget's going to have an impact on a lot of people out there. The longer it drags on, you would figure that's going to give them some urgency.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what, I've been thinking here. I mean, especially being here at Temple, one of the universities that does receive some sort of funding from the state. I mean, just looking at it, I feel like as if, if I were governor, I would just be working as hard as I can to just try and get some people to the table to vote and say, maybe, all right, I'll give up some of these issues, but these are definitely staying in. See if we could just drum up at least some sort of consensus.
Yeah, and I think what you saw yesterday they basically had a week before this vote to try and determine who was going to vote for it, and the majority leader in the House said that Governor Wolf was pulling people into his office as debate was happening on the floor, trying to get them to switch their vote. I don't know that anyone's questioning how hard both sides are trying to lobby. I think it just comes down to, in some ways, ideology and politics. They have different sets of beliefs on what they want to accomplish, and there hasn't been an ability to bridge the gap for either side at this point.
Yeah, so hopefully we will see some sort of action come soon. Chris Palmer, writer for The Inquirer. Chris, thanks so much for joining us here on Rational Radio.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So great discussion there. I mean, just the inability to pass a budget. I mean, you heard him say that they've been talking, Governor Wolf pulling people aside during debate on the House floor.
That's crazy.
That's initiative. That's showing that he wants it done. He wants it done. He's not just pushing this off. He's working hard. He's working his own way. It just shows that he really plain old wants to get it done.
Yeah. Partisanship's not going to let that happen.
No.
And he ran on the platform. He said, "No, don't worry about the legislature. I'll be able to work with them." Okay, well,
yeah,
work with them. We're not. I mean, that's not happening.
Waiting for it.
I mean, because especially as we see this just complete kind of polarization of politics. I mean, you see all this. Republicans, not a single one voted for the budget, and even a couple Democrats came over to the Republican side and voted against the budget. So, I mean, people from his own party are saying no.
Right.
I mean,
if you don't have back from your own party, I don't know what he put in the budget exactly, but there's got to be something he can find that he can change up a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, like an increased revenue for school districts. We were just what we were talking about for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Right.
Wouldn't that be a good way to solve this problem?
Yeah,
Very true.
it would.
Sure be nice.
Like that would be a really, quick, easy fix. Obviously not like as quick and easy as we're making it sound here, but it would be certainly a step in the right direction.
And Chris mentioned it. He said that there are entities that are dependent on this money, and he mentioned school districts. And when school districts pass their budget, I mean, they budget with the intent to receive X amount of funds from the state. And then you're just saying, all right, function on not this much money, less than this. It's not like we over budgeted and now you're only going to have this much. It's you budgeted this and now you're less than that.
Oh, yeah. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, our school district kind of got the underside of that, where we we built new buildings for our school district with the understanding that the state was going to pay for it. And we spent several $100,000 on new buildings. And then after building them, it was taken out of the budget for the state. We didn't get any of the funding. And then the school district had to cover all those hundreds of thousands of dollars that came from that new construction and had to find somewhere to take it from. And so they cut programs. They got rid of like our fall play. Some sports programs were reduced in funding. You know, students were losing all of this opportunity, and that's because of this lack of funding from the state.
That's a crazy amount of money.
And how can you do that? Because then it's impacting other things beyond, you know, just the school. It's saying, all right, nope, no fall play. Sorry, we built these buildings. We thought we were getting the money, and then like I mean, how does that like work? I mean, it's insane just to think that they can't. There is so much in that budget that they won't come to common ground on. I mean, now you heard him say that the Republicans are warming to the idea of taxing the natural gas drillers, which is something when he was running that they said they were vehemently opposed to.
Right. It's progress. Progress is progress. They're taking itty bitty, tiny baby steps, but
they're tiny steps, all right.
Their hands are trying to meet in the middle,
and some of the steps are backwards, but progress is progress. Hopefully they'll get it done.
Hopefully is right. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I was the governor, I would say that, all right, guys, we're doing this around the clock. Let's go. We're doing this. We're gonna get a budget hammered out. I don't care how long it takes. And that's just, I feel like being like a leader. Like, you heard him say it's kind of like slow for the rest of the week. Well, why is it slow? Let's go. Let's get people in the room talking to each other.
Yeah, they're deciding the fate of our state.
Right. I mean, there are people that are depending on this money, and he said, no. You know, the end of the week is wide open. Yeah, if you want to come in, you know, feel free.
It's crazy.
We don't have a budget. Let's go. Like. I don't know. Am I making this sound simpler than it is? Maybe.
It may be a little bit, but at the same time, you're making a valid point.
I mean, what do you say? It's in its 100th day? Over that? Since the fiscal year begins July 1.
Mm-hmm. And it's too long.
Yeah.
Long and the short of it, it's too long. This needs to happen. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't know. Why don't they tune into Rational Radio and listen to what we had to say? You know, we're going to bring someone on here and just keep every single day, and we're going to ask them, just pass that budget. I mean, because, there are people like Temple that are dependent on state funds, state-provided funds. I mean, they're like I was talking to someone in the budget office here at Temple, and they were saying that, you know, they have a plan in place to deal with whether or not they come in with with the amount that Governor Wolf is wanting to appropriate versus the amount that they think they will get. But if they ultimately don't get the amount that they're projecting to receive, they're going to have to come up with other cost-cutting measures. And they said they're going to try strategic budget initiatives to reduce costs and reduce the impact on students. But he said ultimately, you know, it could come down to a tuition increase.
Wow.
Or it could come down to cutting fun programs like WHIP Radio.
And
that would be really heartbreaking.
Yeah. Think about it. They're going to look, they're looking for ways they can just cut it down. And, no student wants to hear tuition increase.
No one wants tuition increase. No one wants WHIP to go away.
That's true. Both of those are both true. Yeah.
Facts of life.
And we want our own football stadium. 3 things on the table.
That would
Let's
be
go.
nice.
I don't know. I like the link.
Well, you can't get any money to build. If they don't pass a budget, then we're not getting any money to build a football stadium unless we're taking it out of like the rainy day fund.
Yeah, bottom of the line.
The rainy day budget. Let's just take a couple $1 million out of the rainy day fund and build a football stadium.
I don't think that's what they're going to do. But I don't know. I don't see why they can't just come together and put. I'm not saying compromise on everything. Like, I'm not saying, Republicans have to throw out their whole agenda and Democrats need to throw out theirs. I'm saying let's just, give a little. Republicans say, all right, we're going to, we'll take put a little bit more of a tax on gas drillers. Or I should say a tax because they're not currently taxed right now. So put that on. And the Democrats say, okay, thanks. We appreciate that. Well, we won't raise property taxes. Okay, cool. There are 2 issues. We just solved 2 issues right there.
2016.
That's right. There we go.
Running on that.
And now it's obviously more complicated than that because the representatives are catering to their constituencies. But we have to remember, I mean, once it passes the House, it still has to pass the Senate. And then if they pass an amended bill, then it goes back to the House and they need to reconcile them, and then he'll eventually sign it. So, I mean, this is a lengthy process.
Yeah, we've got a ways to go.
I mean, I'm hoping that we get to December and we're still not talking about this.
Please.
I mean, I'm hoping.
We need some new things to talk about.
Hey, it makes good conversation.
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll look at it from the selfish standpoint that we're doing good. We're doing well here.
We're thriving off of them.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't know. But hopefully they will come to a consensus soon and get something done. But a lot of good discussion here today. Some big topics that we were talking about. We thank Chris for joining us. Chris Palmer from the Inquirer, talking about the inability of the legislature to pass a budget and the kind of stalemate that Governor Tom Wolf is dealing with. So we hope to see you right back here tomorrow from 3 to 4 on Rational Radio on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station. Have a great day, everybody.